A friend calls you, not to chat, because their life is falling apart and they need you to fix it. They've been stuck in the same miserable job for 3 years. They know they should leave. They have every reason to, but they can't move. You listen for about 4 minutes, and then you give them the clearest, most obvious, most perfectly logical advice they've ever heard in their life. You nail it. You both go quiet for a second. Yeah, you're right. 2 weeks later, you're at your desk, the job you've been meaning to leave for 3 years. Okay? So you're not a hypocrite. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You are experiencing one of the most documented paradoxes in all of psychology. And it has a name. And that name is going to make a lot of sense in about 30 seconds. Meet King Solomon. Solomon was supposedly the wisest man who ever lived. People crossed entire continents just to hear him talk. Legendary advisor. Unmatched judgment. Everyone wanted his opinion. He also had 700 wives, 300 concubines, and somehow still managed to lose his entire kingdom because he couldn't make one reasonable personal decision. 700 wives, the wisest man alive, couldn't sort out his own life. A psychologist named Igor Grossmann looked at this and thought, that's not a coincidence, that's a pattern. And he was right. Grossmann, out of the University of Waterloo, ran a series of studies where he handed people the exact same problem to analyze. A relationship crisis. Partner might be cheating. What do you do? Half the people had to think about it as if it were happening to them. The other half had to think about it as if it were happening to a distant acquaintance. Same problem, same information, same people. The results were not close. The group reasoning about the acquaintance was more balanced, more open, more able to say, I'm not sure, and actually mean it. They considered multiple possibilities. They acknowledged what they didn't know. The group reasoning about themselves? Rigid, emotionally reactive, jumping straight to conclusions and locking in. No flexibility, no nuance, just noise. Same scenario, completely different quality of thinking. And the reason comes down to something called psychological distance. When a problem is yours, your brain is inside it, drowning in it. Every memory attached to it, every fear wrapped around it, every piece of your identity tangled up in the outcome. There's no room to think clearly. You're too close. When it's someone else's problem, your brain zooms out automatically. It sees the shape of the thing instead of the inside of it. The structure, not the chaos. You stop staring at one tree and start seeing the entire forest. There's a whole theory behind this, construal level theory, which basically says the further something feels from you, the more clearly you can think about it. In time, in space, in social connection. More distance, more clarity. Which means the less you know someone, the better you can think about their problems. Congratulations. Your uselessness toward your own life is completely by design. But here's where it gets interesting. The gap isn't fixed. In the experiments, Grossmann found that when people were told to think about their own situation in the third person, to describe themselves as he or she or they, to treat their own life as if it belonged to a character in someone else's story, their reasoning improved, not slightly, significantly. What would I tell a friend in this situation is not a motivational poster. It's a documented cognitive technique that literally changes the structure of how your brain processes the problem. Creating artificial distance, pretending for a moment that you're not you, is enough to trick your brain into thinking at full capacity. You've been your own worst advisor this entire time. And the fix is just using a different pronoun. This is part of why journaling works, by the way. Specifically when you write in the third person. She keeps avoiding the conversation. He already knows what he needs to do. Your brain takes the elevated view it normally reserves for strangers. It stops protecting you and starts analyzing you. And it's part of why therapy works. You describe the problem out loud to another person. And somewhere in the process of making it make sense to them, you hear it clearly for the first time. The problem didn't change. Your position relative to it did. So here's what this actually means. Every time you've given someone perfect, obvious, crystal clear advice, the advice that made them go quiet on the other end of the phone, that clarity is not something you only have for other people. It doesn't appear because they're different from you. It appears because they're not you, which means the next time you're stuck, and you will be, try this. Describe your situation out loud as if it belongs to someone else. Use their name or just he or she. Ask what you would tell that person. You already know the answer. You've probably already given it to someone.